in its simplicity. Then, a single, low rumble. Then nothing. Picture a stadium, not a small one, a stadium holding 200,000 people, families, children, voices overlapping. The particular noise of a crowd that believes tomorrow is coming. Now, the lights go out. The doors lock from the outside, and a darkness fills the air that does not lift, not for a day, not for a month, for 10 years. When the doors finally open, 1,000 people walk out. This is not a story someone invented. This is mathematics. This is genetics. This is what happened to the human race 74,000 years ago. Music enters, low, slow, a single note sustained. Before it happened, humanity was not struggling. We were spreading. Across the grasslands of Africa, into the edges of Asia, following rivers and coastlines into territories no human had ever set foot in. We had fire. We had tools. We had the beginnings of language, the ability to pass knowledge from one generation to the next. For the first time in the long story of life on this planet, one species had begun to understand its own world. And on an island far to the east, on what would one day be called Sumatra, something that had been building for centuries was finally ready. The ground was about to answer. The music drops lower. Something shifts in the atmosphere. Mount Toba was not a volcano in any ordinary sense. It was a supervolcano, a pressure system so vast, so deep, so unimaginably loaded with energy that the mountain above it was almost irrelevant. When it finally released, it did not simply erupt, it detonated. Every nuclear weapon ever built by human civilization, every warhead, every test, every device ever designed to end the world, detonated simultaneously, would still not produce the energy that Toba released in a single morning. 3,000 cubic kilometers of ash exploded into the atmosphere in hours. The sound it made, traveling across oceans, may have ruptured the eardrums of every living creature within 1,000 miles. And that was just the beginning. When the sun disappeared, the pace slows to almost nothing, each word placed like a stone. The ash rose into the upper atmosphere and spread, not over a region, not over a continent, over the entire planet. A veil, dense, choking, impenetrable, wrapping the earth from pole to pole. The sun did not set. The sun simply stopped arriving. Day became a permanent gray twilight. Temperatures across the planet dropped by as much as 15 degrees, not gradually, not over centuries, within months. Rainforests that had taken millions of years to form began to die. The animals that lived within them, the food chains that had sustained human populations, collapsed from the bottom up. First the plants, then the creatures that ate them, then us. The silence that followed. Near silence, the music becomes almost inaudible. Imagine your world going quiet. Not peacefully quiet. The silence of absence. The animals that were there last season, gone. The plants that fed them, brown and collapsed. The skies that were once full of birds, empty. Starvation did not arrive like a disaster arrives, sudden, violent, over quickly. It arrived slowly. Children stopped being born. The elderly went first. Then the strong began to weaken. And the darkness above, that bruised, sulphurous sky, gave no indication of ever changing. For 6 years. Some estimates say 10. The sun was gone, and with it, every assumption humanity had ever made about tomorrow. The tone shifts, barely. A thread of something enduring enters. The genetic record does not lie. Every human being alive today, every single person on this planet, carries the same narrow band of DNA, a bottleneck, the unmistakable biological signature of a population that was almost completely destroyed and rebuilt from almost nothing. Scientists estimate that the entire surviving human population, the people from whom every one of us descends, numbered somewhere between 1,000 and 10,000 individuals. Scattered, isolated, mostly along the southern coasts of Africa, where the ocean still offered something to eat. Shellfish pulled from cold water with bleeding hands. Fires built in caves against temperatures the world had not seen in generations. Bodies pressed together for warmth in the dark. No certainty the cold would end. No way to know whether the species was surviving or simply dying more slowly than everywhere else. Just the next morning, and then the one after that. The music fades completely. We talk about resilience as though it is a choice, as though the people who endure great difficulty do so because they are wiser or stronger or more deserving than those who don't. The survivors of Toba were not wiser. They were not stronger. They were, in the most literal sense possible, the ones who happened to be standing near the water when the world went dark. And they held on. Through years of cold sky and empty land and impossible silence. Through the deaths of everyone they knew. Through a darkness that had no explanation and offered no promise of ending. They held on. And because they did, you exist. Every person you have ever loved. Every thought you have ever had. Every moment of your life traces back to a small group of people crouched on a cold shoreline 74,000 years ago, refusing, for no logical reason, to stop.